The first one is obviously, from the deals we saw. So again, the deals that you saw in the study of 110 deals, among them, these are deals that we've grouped together to just show some trends. The first one is for anyone in the industry, it's been pretty obvious that the bigger ones have gotten bigger by acquiring other companies, right? In the US, obviously, right? Vacasa bought Turnkey. Vacasa is always buying. I think Vacasa has bought like 270 property management companies over the last years. Last year, Turnkey was, I think, one of the biggest competitors they bought. So, of course, they're big. It's happening in Europe as well. Aways is a big group, and they are adding properties or property managers as well. Same thing for Sykes. Sykes is getting very, very big. If you look at the UK, if you put together Aways and Sykes, it's pretty now it's getting, pretty concentrated on one hand. But now if you think about this, what Vacasa is only what, 5 to 10% of the supply. So it's interesting. They're big, they're getting bigger by acquiring others, but we're still in a fragmented market. And again, here we're only looking with these 3 big actors, more like vacation rental markets versus urban. Quickly, one was, we talk about this like in the reports, all the average that Thomas put together. We did not include the value of the IPOs, the SPACs, especially the big companies going public, because I would of course skew a bit the study. But did happen, right? Again in Europe and in the US, and SPAC basically, which is a way to go public, is different from an IPO. But this SPAC. The availability of a SPAC, let's say, in the market really enabled a lot of companies to make new types of financial deals to go public. And this happened. So this is also why there's been, again, a lot of attractions towards our industry, because suddenly a slew of vacation rental companies have gone public. So, I mean, analysts are looking at them, the financial websites are talking about them. So another reason for which in 2022, you have even more eyes looking at our markets, just because it's kind of mechanics, right? These companies are entering some funds or entering some kind of trackers. So there's more people wanting to know what's happening just beyond Airbnb, what's happening with the others. Another trend that was interesting to notice here was the smaller sites that had to do with outdoors. No clue whether it's cabin fever because of the pandemic. Actually, I can have an idea, but a lot of companies that were like offering cabins, for example, or even like glamping, or these kind of companies really raised money. So in different corners of the world, right? We have Germany, Australia, the US. That's been a clear trend. Also in terms of supply, the last few years, right? Obviously, with the pandemic, a lot of people wanted to escape. It's been hard for some places to find supply, right? If you remember summer 2021 in the US, for example, in some places in Europe, places were booked up, ADRs were crazy. So it does mean that people who could offer maybe some alternative supply, not just like vacation rentals, maybe like a tent, a cabin, or whatever, are suddenly getting some favor here. Yes, the pandemic was tough on the cities, right? And in some markets like New Orleans, for example, listings are still 30% down now compared with pre-pandemic. Not talking about Amsterdam and Prague, where the number of listings are 70% down compared with pre-pandemic. And yet money has been flowing into providers of these urban rentals. If you think of the Sonder-like model, right? Let's say places, buildings offering hotel-like services in cities, and these companies have, they try to offer, automated services, automated check-in, and they've been raising money. And again, from Mexico to Finland, the US, obviously, Brazil, for the expansion. So it's this phenomena is still happening. So it means like the money has still been flowing in the sense that investors are pretty confident that obviously demand will come back, and demand is coming back to cities. And this model is so very interesting because obviously this model is usually offering the guarantee that these rentals will be available, in the sense that usually they get a license or they get some kind of like commercial permit that allow them to legally be there, whereas a lot of listings on Airbnb that are by individuals, may just like get sacked by short-term rental bans, and that's a big danger. Here suddenly you have the demand, and they are providing a place for this demand to go in a, let's say, more sustainable way. Another bit here is obviously tech. Tech, obviously, in the short-term rental industry is big and has been raising money. Even though it has simple, we looked more at property management companies. Obviously, tech has been here. Companies like Guesty, for example, which was already quite well capitalized, buying a competitor with the money. Your porter, as Thomas said, right? Sometimes you're also raising money to buy competitors at some stages. Key Data buying a data provider, buying another data provider. Fantastic Stay, for example, another platform, technology platform, getting money. And also, interesting enough, vacation rental data company Transparent getting money from JetBlue. Well, JetBlue's tech venture fund, basically putting money to vacation tech company, which is interesting. Just as kind of what I said at some point, the industry looks interesting. So you have investors with no obvious background into the industry saying, you know what, I should make a bet on that industry. Kind of looks cool. I'm just pushing it, but you see what I mean for the money. Last bit here is targeted needs. What I meant here is that I don't want to call these niches, but more like they answer to needs, special needs or underserved needs in the market. Obviously, Handiscover, for example, which has a B2B platform for accessibility in vacation rentals. We have another company offering film location rentals where you can basically book apartments, great places where to shoot movies, and also another vacation rental website for vegetarians. You'll tell me these websites have existed forever. What's interesting, a lot of them are actually also getting more money now. So let's see how it goes, but it does mean that, as we said, there's you have these big headlines, these big companies going public. We also have small players who need to find a way to raise money because it can happen. Before I go into 2022, Thomas, any thoughts, things I forgot, mistakes?